Welcome back to 10-Minute Prophecy, and we are glad you have joined us today. In today's video, we are going to reveal the answer to which prophetic interpretive method the Bible supports. Have you all commented and guessed which method is the one that the Bible endorses? If you guessed historicism, then you are correct. This is non-denominational and has been the method which Israel, Jesus, and the Christian Church used to interpret Bible prophecy before there were non-biblical methods introduced by a religious state power who was identified as the Antichrist. They did not want this, so they began to introduce methods that would point Christians away from the Bible. Please comment below if you would like a history of this. Now let's continue. As you remember in Daniel chapter 2, verse 36, Daniel is giving the interpretation and reveals what the head of gold represents. Let's see what the scripture says. This was the dream. Now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, the King of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power and the might and the glory, and into whose hand he has given, wherever they dwell, the children of man, the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, making you rule over them all. You are the head of gold. Daniel says, you king of Babylon is the head of gold. The interpretation is anchored to the current kingdom. What this means is that if you were living during Daniel's time or are living in our modern age, this interpretation does not change. So for Daniel, the prophecy started with the kingdom of Babylon, and all the other parts of the statue represented kingdoms that would come after Babylon. Their characteristics would be similar to Babylon. As we look at the prophecy using the historicist view, now living several thousand years later, we can look back in history and see how this prophecy was fulfilled. What this also means is that we can look at the Bible and it will give us identifying markers both present and future as to what prophecy is currently being fulfilled and what will be fulfilled, because the Bible uses large, influential world powers and significant events in his people to anchor the prophecies in, so that we can accurately pinpoint what has passed, what is current, and what will be in the future. Let's read more in Daniel chapter 2, starting with verse 39 and going down to verse 45. Another kingdom inferior to you shall arise after you, and yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, because iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things. And like iron that crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom, but some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with soft clay, so they will mix with one another in marriage, but they will not hold together, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of those kings the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end. And it shall stand forever, just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. A great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation sure. Notice again that the prophecy states that each metal is an earthly kingdom. Now, during Daniel's early life, he didn't yet know what kingdoms would rise up, but during his life he would experience the second kingdom's takeover of Babylon. For us looking back, we can clearly see which kingdoms in history had the same reach and power of Babylon. When we open our history textbooks, we find that the kingdom that defeated Babylon was Medo-Persia, represented by silver. Then the kingdom that defeated Medo-Persia is Greece, which is represented by bronze. Then after that, Rome, which is represented by iron. And finally, the rise of Europe, which is represented by the 10 toes. Again, we see the identifying historical marker of iron mixed with clay. This indicates that the countries of Europe will have militarily strong and weak countries. Do we see this today? Yes, we do. We also know, using the historicist method, that we are living in the time of the toes. We can now see that there is only one more prophecy in the image to be fulfilled, and that is the second coming of Jesus, which is illustrated as the stone which breaks the statue up and then fills the whole earth. As mentioned earlier, the historicist method was the method that was universally used by all denominations until non-biblical methods were introduced into the Christian churches by the Antichrist power to direct attention away from it. We will talk about who is the Antichrist power as it is revealed in Daniel chapter 7. This concludes Daniel chapter 2. Now you need to know a few things before we go to Daniel chapter 7. The prophecies of Daniel and Revelation use Daniel chapter 2 as the framework. You will see that this prophecy in Daniel chapter 2 is the 50,000-foot view, and that each prophecy begins to give much more details into each of the kingdoms, and not only that, it reveals the redemptive work that is going on in heaven. This is a principle of Bible prophecy called repeat and enlarge. You will see this happen over and over again as we go through each prophecy. This concludes our time together. Join us next time as we start the next prophecy of Daniel chapter 7. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you are enjoying this series so far or have any questions, please comment below. Hope to see you soon.